Well, hello everybody, and thank you all for joining us. We are doing a 1 hour live GCN broadcast from the Vanity Golf Hotel in Mallorca, which is where we are currently filming. Si and I will be answering all of the questions that you have, or at least as many as we can get through over the following 60 minutes. You might recognise the Vanity Golf Hotel by name. We did some filming here earlier in the year because this is where Team Sky do all of their pre-season training. In fact, they take over the entire hotel for a good couple of months. But we are here now. It's open to general members of the public, and a very nice place it is too. We will be taking questions on most forms of social media, so you can get them on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Global Cycling Network, on Twitter, which is at GCN Tweet, on Instagram, which is at Global Cycling Network, and I've probably forgotten another one, but that should be enough for you as well. You can also leave your comments next to our live broadcast on YouTube. So it's worth reminding you that we are broadcasting live on both YouTube and Facebook. Not for the first time, for the second or third time. So we better get on with your questions. We've got some pre-submitted ones, and then we'll be taking the ones live as they come in as well. So Si will kick you off.
All right then. Well, thanks, Dan. We will start with Sid Brown on Facebook now. Sid submitted this earlier on today, and he said, I wish you guys would do a meet-up for all the GCN fans currently on the island of Mallorca like we are right now. And, well, it is something that we would love to do because we love meeting all the people that watch GCN out there. And we have been stopped quite a lot, actually, out on the road, so haven't we, for, photos and a quick chat about bike riding. It's really good. The only slight trouble is that we are actually out in Mallorca trying to film loads of great GCN videos, and so we kind of don't really have the time to organise like a proper meetup, although it is actually a great idea, and definitely next time we come out somewhere like this, we should really do that, shouldn't we? Because it would be great to catch up with everyone. But yeah, so sorry, not this time. Our location tomorrow is a closely guarded secret. We don't know where we're going.
It's definitely Mallorca. We can tell you that much. But no, that is definitely something that we would like to do at some point in the future. A proper organised ride where we let people know where we're going to be and at what time, and we can all meet up and have a jolly good ride. Anyway, on with the questions. One from Ralph on Twitter. If you're riding with a friend in a strong tailwind, should you ride side by side or in a line? Now, typically, I've chosen the first question to answer, and it's one that I don't really know the answer to. I posed a similar question myself on Twitter a few months ago. At what point does a tailwind mean that it's more beneficial to be upright rather than trying to get aerodynamic? I'm not sure what the end answer was. But your question, I think it has to be an extremely strong tailwind before you're better off being side by side rather than sheltering behind each other.
Well, presumably if it was a really strong tailwind, then the guy behind would actually be sheltering the rider in front and reducing the push from the tailwind. So maybe you want to think about doing reverse through and off. There's a thought.
That would be really weird, wouldn't it?
It would be really strong.
This definitely sounds like a possible GCN Does Science video.
We need some glasses. We haven't got our glasses.
You've got some glasses. They featured on the GCN show the other day.
Well, I know, but I haven't got them with me. And my reading glasses are in my bag elsewhere. Sorry.
Right, we better crack on. We've got so many questions to answer. David Savage on Twitter. What do you think the most useless gimmicks in road cycling are?
Ooh, that is a good question. Most useless gimmicks. Well, I tell you what, actually. What I don't think is a useless gimmick, and I know it's a hot topic, is disc brakes. Because I know there's a lot of people out there now saying that they're not needed and they're dangerous. But actually, disc brakes do brake better. And you can brake faster in pretty much any conditions. We've seen that. We did a test. But anyway, so that's what. One thing I do think maybe is slightly gimmicky is extra cogs on your rear cassette. So, everyone's gone from 8-speed or 7-speed, probably 6-speed in Matt's case, 6-speed to 7-speed to 8-speed, 9-speed, 10-speed, 11-speed, maybe even 12-speed. But actually, I'm not entirely sure it makes that much difference. It's nice to have the extra cogs, but maybe that's a bit gimmicky. What do you think?
I like having extra cogs, I must admit.
Do you go faster, though?
Probably not, no. There are very few things that really, really help you go faster. But perhaps if everyone else had 11 speed and I'd only had 6, then I would have felt like I was being held back in some way. So you've always got to keep up with the times, I guess, to make the most of everything. Before we crack on with any other questions, it is worth saying that we are giving away a couple of prizes this evening, very special ones. 2 GCN T-shirts are up for grabs for the best questions that we receive tonight in this live 60-minute broadcast. They're very hard to get. In fact, they're not hard to get, because I should mention that you can get them on shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com for a very reasonable fee. But 2 will be given away later on this evening. Brendan on Twitter. Guys, it looks like you aren't fans on headbands on social media. We did something on Facebook about this yesterday. What about you both personally? Do you own any? Quick question to answer, really, for me. It's no.
It makes a royal mess of your side parting, doesn't it? Yeah, and for me, I think it's a strong look, but I personally don't own any, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Okay, how about the next question? We've got a question here from Neil Donahue. That rings a bell, doesn't it? From GMBN. What's the worst thing about being a roadie apart from the lycra? Well, my word. Do you think you can answer that?
Yeah, we can answer that because something is very fresh in our memory from earlier on today. So Si mentioned earlier that we've had a number of people coming up to us saying that they enjoy watching our videos, which has been quite overwhelming, in fact. It's been amazing how many people have come up to us in Mallorca and asked for a photo and said that they're enjoying what we're doing. And we're enjoying what we're doing, so that always feels great. But a group of German riders who came up to us and said that, we later saw on the roadside because one of them had crashed reasonably badly. In fact, we'd like to say a get well soon to whoever it was. Yeah. We didn't get the name, but he did look a bit the worse aware and was going to be carted off to hospital. But it did bring back just how much harder tarmac is to dirt. So if you crash on the road bike going down a hill versus crashing on a mountain bike, it's generally a lot harder hitting, let's say.
Can I just say to Neil, by the way, Neil Donahue from GMBN, I actually like lycra a lot. And when I ride my mountain bike, I wear lycra. Oh yeah, it means that my saddle that I don't drop doesn't get in the way, it doesn't get caught in my shorts. So yeah. Anyway, right. Perhaps we should move swiftly on from that heated debate. How about Josip Juzovic on Facebook? I'm sorry if I've made a mess of your name there. Dan, do you feel sad that you aren't actually riding for Team Dimension Data? Who said you're not riding for Dimension Data?
Yeah. Well, for those, there are still a few people that aren't 100% sure, but that was our elaborate April Fool's joke.
You were even made to give the kit back, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to give the kit back and everything. I've still got a pair of Oakley leg warmers, which I'm keeping hold of. But apart from that, I had to give the skin suit and everything else that they lent us for that video back. I have to say, it felt amazing how many people thought that I was still capable of getting around a pro race. I obviously still look fit, even if I'm not really that fit anymore.
No comment. No, you were looking fit today. We've been doing quite a lot of riding out here in Mallorca, including going up and down Sacalobra, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's a 9.5 kilometre long climb, and it's an average of 7%. And we had a cheeky little race up there, didn't we? Which is coming soon.
A race with a difference.
Yeah, it was a very different race, but it was a good race, and we all went really quite deep. And it turns out that, Dan, you're still quite fit. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Right, let's have another one, shall we? Christian Cortez on Facebook. Oh, what beer are we drinking tonight? Well, it's a gluten-free Estrella Dora Dam beer. It's really nice, actually. I'd probably ask Dan, you're the connoisseur.
Yeah, I've kind of been bullied into getting a gluten-free beer. For those of you who don't know, Si is allergic to gluten, so he steers clear of normal bread and pasta and things like that, which means that he can't drink normal beer, which is something beyond my comprehension. But I've joined him in suffering with this one. But actually, it is quite nice.
I think it's nice.
Right, moving quickly on. More live Facebook questions. So, Ethan Nash on Facebook says, it's my birthday, can I have a special mention? Well, you've already got one. Michaeli Thomas on Facebook, who can do the best back wheel skid? That probably is actually Neil Donahue that we mentioned earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, he can skid quite well. In terms of the GCN guys, Lasty is quite good for like car park tricks, isn't he? Surprisingly. Yeah, he always does some, just when you're hanging around waiting for something, he's always doing something weird with his bike.
Matt did quite a good rear wheel skid when he was riding with the Tinkoff Saxo squad, doesn't he? But that was because his brakes were a different way around to how he normally has them, so he pulled the wrong one on. Hence why he crashed, but it was quite a long skid before he hit the deck. Right, Alfie Brown on Facebook says, how can I ride in the rain whilst wearing glasses? I presume, Alfie, you are talking about prescription glasses, but I don't personally have to wear them, so I'm going to answer it from a purely sort of shades eyewear point of view. I always rode with shades or eyewear of some description as long as I possibly could. I really hated having the wind in my eyes. I found that I couldn't really see all that well because I just didn't cope with it very well. Other riders don't wear them ever. But there does come a point in rain, and particularly mud off-road, where there's this tipping balance between whether you can see more with your shades on or eyewear on or more without. Because the problem is without, especially in a bunch of riders, is that you get all the spray coming up from the road, goes straight into your eyes, and I find it hard to keep them open. So I tended to keep them on as long as possible. Now, in terms of how you can wear them, there are some pretty good products out there that you can spray onto lenses, which mean that the drops of water just drop off almost instantly, so they do keep clearer for a lot longer and they don't steam up either.
Can't you lick them? Isn't that a thing? Licking lenses?
Do you know what I found the other day from an Irishman is that if you rub a cut potato over them, it does the same thing, apparently. I haven't tested this out yet, but apparently that works for car windscreens, etc. as well.
Right, Alfie, perhaps you can check that out. Personally, actually, I don't tend to ride with glasses when it gets wet. I have, obviously, a peaked cap, and I blink, and then I get stuff in my eyes. So I probably should get glasses, actually, shouldn't I, really?
It does generally help an enormous amount having a little peaked cap underneath your helmet when it's raining. Just having your head slightly down so you can still see the road in front of you does take away an enormous amount of the spray that you would normally get straight onto your eyes.
It does, but you then got the dilemma, haven't you, about whether you look cool and have the peak up or you have the peak down and it actually serves a purpose. So, you need to make that decision yourself, I guess.
Okay. Can you give us another question, Si?
Okay, I can. Right, how about Dan Fenori? Who would win in a 100-kilometre ride out of you guys? Well, I don't know about that, actually. In terms of who... Well, all right. So, I don't know how to answer that. Anyway, so I'm still in reasonably good shape, but Matt actually has incredible reserves of endurance, doesn't he? That surprises all from time to time. Basically, he will ride at one speed, and then just won't stop, will he? He'll just keep going. He could do 100k, no probs.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was Matt through and throughout his career as well. He didn't have any kind of sprint to speak of, did he? I think he himself would admit that, and he might even be watching this now, so I won't go into too many details. But he was incredibly talented right the way back from being an amateur. He finished very high up at a couple of amateur world championships against some amazing names that really went on to massive things. In terms of who would win a 100-kilometre ride, yes, I was fairly modest in saying that he's still kept in very good shape. You might have seen our show, which came out of the Tour of Flanders, the GCN Show, 2 days after that race. We actually had the privilege of riding 100 kilometres by chance of the Tour of Flanders on the day of the event between the women's and the men's races. Now, there were a couple of timed segments within that 100 kilometres up the Berendries, and the other climb was the Kruisberg out of Ronse. So we led Si in, knowing that he's probably the fittest out of all of us at the moment, and he came second on Strava on both. The first one being behind Greg van Avermaet and the second one behind Dries Devenins, both current pros, one with BMC, one with Giant Alpecin. Si is still very, very fit and would give a lot of people that are paid to ride their bikes a good run for their money, at least on a short Strava climb anyway.
Yeah, on Strava maybe, not quite like the Tour of Flanders. But anyway, thanks, Dan. That's very kind of you. All right, how about this one? This is quite a good question from Si Trickett. Is GCN a business? Dan?
Yeah, it most certainly is. I mean, we are in the privileged position that we are paid to do this. This is our living. It's our job. It's a thoroughly enjoyable job, and we never take for granted the fact that we get to do make a living from our hobby, effectively. Similar to racing a bike as we did as professionals before. But money does have to come from somewhere, so it comes from various different revenues, and we do our best to make the most of it and make the most of the money that we receive from various revenues to make the best content possible. But you can't make free content without getting some income from somewhere.
Yeah, that is true, and we are exceedingly lucky, aren't we?
including shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, caps, mugs, and all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah. But remember, you can get 2 free GCN Tshirts tonight.
We're going to give 20 t-shirts away.
Whoa!
Oh.
We've had news just in from Mike Rees, producer extraordinaire, who is the man behind a lot of the things that go on at GCN. 20
And he has the biggest calf muscles that we've ever seen.
Yeah, if you go onto my personal Instagram page, which is instagram.com/Daniel Lloyd 1, you will see a calf comparison between Mike Rees and myself. We had quite a few comments on there, one of which said, I can only see one calf here. I was discussing with Mike earlier, actually, that if he had a massage and I did as well, I'd be ripped off if I was paying the same price as he was, because his legs are twice the size. It is quite incredible. But 20 t-shirts, right. What I think we should do is give a couple of t-shirts away to people who've already submitted questions that we've already answered to make it fair, because we thought we were going to give 2 away. So I shall go back and go through them at the moment if you want to answer another question.
All right, I do. Okay, Rob Barber. Oh, crikey. What's the best cause for cramps? I guess you mean most common cause. Well, actually, I don't think anyone really knows, genuinely, scientifically, what does cause cramp. People used to think it was dehydration, and I think that they've now disproven that. I think now it's got something to do with fatigue, hasn't it? Do you know anything about that? Something to do with the electrical impulses going to your muscles, and over like a long period of time when you're exceedingly fatigued, then that kind of goes awry. Something along those lines. So actually, it's more of a conditioning thing rather than a dehydration thing. But maybe we'll need to do some investigation.
Yeah, personally speaking, I mean, I'm not really up with the science behind it all, but it does seem like it's something which, just affects some people more than others, like a lot of different things in life, really. Even sort of obesity and carrying extra weight to a degree. I come from a family who are all skinny, and I have a feeling...
They don't have any calf muscles.
No, none of us have calf muscles, and I get the feeling that if I ate exactly the same amount as somebody else down the road, we'd probably be very different shapes and sizes. So, yeah, I think it's an individual thing, but there's no doubt that you can do a few things to try and combat cramp if that is something that you personally suffer from a lot.
Yeah, I think if it's a specific event that you're cramping in, then I think doing a really, really hard training session or another event that you can use as training beforehand that will condition you for the extra duration or intensity, that will really help actually to just try and push that kind of that zone where you start to cramp, whether it's length of time or distance, then hopefully that'll push it back. Dan, have you got a t-shirt winner for us yet?
I have got 2 from people that submitted questions that we have already answered. So I think the first one was from Sid Brown, who submitted a question on Facebook. So you are the winner of 1 t-shirt, and the winner of another is David Savage. He was asking what are the most useless gimmicks in road cycling. So if you both get in touch with us via Facebook, if possible, and message with your address on the side of your t-shirt, we'll get that out to you as soon as we possibly can. So 18 still left to go. So make sure you keep submitting your questions to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well, and we will be answering as many as we possibly can over the next, 42 minutes, and we'll be giving 18 more t-shirts away. Right, have we got any more questions in?
We have. How about Matthew Verboom? What was your first bike as a child?
Wow. Well, first kind of proper bike that I remember was a Rally Racer 5-speed. In fact, I saw an exact Rally Racer 5-speed that I had just a year or so ago. It was quite amazing to see.
We were at the Tour of Britain, weren't we? And it was in a window.
Was that the one? Yeah, I don't remember being with you, Si, but I remember the Rally Racer. I distinctly remember it, actually, because it was at the time when mountain bikes were kind of just becoming mainstream. And where I grew up, it was down a gravel track, just as posh as it sounds, actually. A gravel track, there were about 5 houses. And my dad suggested to me that it might be better to have an all-terrain bicycle, which would cope with the gravel track to get out onto the road more than the road bike. But I was absolutely determined that I was going to get this road bike. So that was really... Oh, no, I had a BMX, a Rally Burner BMX before that. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
You?
My first proper bike was a mountain bike, an all-terrain bike, as you say. It was a Kona Lava Dome, and it was my absolute pride and joy. Back in 1993, and it had a silver to blue fade paint job. It was a masterpiece. It was incredible. Yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't sold that bike, but anyway, I had to sell it to then buy a new one that fitted me better after I'd gone through puberty. But anyway, such is life.
Yeah. Well, I think we should move quickly on from that. The next T-shirt number 3, is going to go to... Drum roll. Oh, you can't do it, Dom. You're drinking a beer. Marco Bell. What is the best bike that you have ever ridden? Again, an impossible question to answer. So I've learnt a lot since I've been with GCN, because as a pro, you don't get to really try out that many different bikes. You're very much reliant on in terms of team sponsor for the frame, the group set, the saddle, etc., even shoes as well. Since we have had the privilege of joining GCN, we have also had the privilege of being able to use a multitude of different bikes. And what I have learnt in that time is that really fit makes an enormous difference. Tyres make a huge difference in terms of how comfortable a bike feels. And if the saddle's right and all of the contact points feel right, so your shoes, etc. as well, then generally a bike does feel really good. Only at the point at which you've got your position dialed exactly the same on lots of different bikes can you really make a true comparison. But I would say that the manufacturers these days at the top end, they're all quality. Like, there's just no denying that they all are amazing machines that work really well, feel really fast, and climb very well as well.
Yeah, I think you're right actually there, Dan. And also familiarity as well, how you feel about that bike. I think some of my fondest memories of bikes that I've owned or raced on have either been because I've had really good races on them or because they look particularly cool, that kind of thing. But one thing that I really value in bikes that not many people ever really talk about is top tube stiffness and head tube stiffness. So that feeling that when you turn the handlebars, that input goes directly to your front wheel. I hate it when you get like a slight wobbling in the head tube. So it's not something you never really know unless you took a bike out for a test ride, but that is one of my things. I really like a stiff front end of a bike. Yeah, anyway, right, how about another question? Pietro Fod, do you think it will snow at Liège this weekend? A la Bernardino, what was that, 1986? Was that the snowy one?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, the one where only about 10 people finished. To answer the question, I have absolutely no idea. The only forecast that I have been looking at is the one for here in Mallorca. And generally it's been very, very pleasant, I have to admit. But this morning, it absolutely hammered it down until about 10 a.m. And then we headed over to the other side of the island. We're in Alcudia, if you've just joined us and you didn't hear what I said earlier, where it was a bit overcast, but it was absolutely amazing again this afternoon. I would thoroughly recommend coming to Mallorca at any opportunity that you get to ride your bike, because it's stunning, isn't it? Like, I was only here just a couple of months ago, but you do quickly forget how nice the riding is here.
It's like a cycling theme park, isn't it? The tarmac is about the smoothest tarmac I've ever ridden on. You go 3 kilometres an hour faster for the same power, and then the climbs are perfect gradients, the descents are swoopy. It really is cool, isn't it? As well as being beautiful. Just going back to Liège, Dan, who do you think is going to win?
Well, you have to put Valverde as favourite, don't you? He's just taken his 3rd consecutive and 4th ever Flèche Wallonne only yesterday. He was winning in Spain just before that, I think a stage in the overall at the race where he was at there. So although he said that his main priority is still the Giro d'Italia coming up in May, and that the Ardennes are not a second thought, but not quite so high up the priority list, he looks like he's on absolutely stunning form. Didn't even compete at Amstel Gold. He's won Flèche, and I think he's favourite for Liège. As you all know, well, not all of you, but a lot of you will know, I do like an outsider. I went for Michael Vulgren at Amstel Gold. You might remember that I tipped him for the World Championships many years ago when Kwiatkowski won. A rank outsider, but actually did perform very well on that day. He's kind of coming to fruition now, so to speak. He's one of Alberto Contador's key lieutenants at a lot of the stage races that he wants to do well in. And that second place at Amstel Gold, I think, really showed that he's coming into really, really good form, and he's at the top level of the sport. I think Liège might just, though, be a little bit hard for him. So as another outsider, I'd say Jan Bakelants.
What about the Ethics duo, Alaphilippe and Dan Martin? Do you reckon the pair of them can, do something?
Yep.
Obviously, they did at Flèche.
For sure, they have a massive opportunity, and it's not just them either, is it? It's Bob Youngles as well, Peter Vakoc, who won Brabantse de Pijl just not even a couple of weeks ago. It was 1 week ago today, or yesterday, in fact, I think. So they've, just as they do in the Cobbled Classics, have a lot of different cards to play, all potential winners. But they must all be keeping their fingers crossed that it goes right on the day, because so far in the classic season, which is probably the most important time of the year for Ethics Quickstep, they've just come up short and haven't taken the win yet. It's been elusive for them.
It's true. They didn't look like they had the legs in the Cobble Classics, but it does look like they've got the legs in the Ardennes Classics, doesn't it? It's fair to say. Yeah, right, okay, let's have another question, shall we? How about this one, which is from Trevor Nye. Why can't disc brakes have protective covers like they do on enduro bikes? It's a good question. Again, it's a hot topic, disc brakes at the moment. I think the main reason is that they can have protective covers. It's just that no one has ever considered them to be necessary before. They've not been necessary on mountain bikes. They've not been necessary on cyclocross bikes. Are they necessary on road bikes? We don't know yet. I think that debate will roll and roll. But the fact is they probably could. It will make a bike slightly less aerodynamic, and they're already at a disadvantage, aren't you, for having disc brakes? But it certainly isn't going to add much weight to add a little protective fairing on there. And they could look quite neat, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think it is a debate which is going to go on and on for the foreseeable future. There's not really a solid concrete answer to it all at the moment. Disc brakes aren't necessary, in my opinion, just because people have survived without them for every year before now that cycling and cycles have been invented. So clearly you don't have to have them to be able to race, but there are a lot of other components on bikes, amongst them gears, which weren't necessary when cycling first started as a sport and as races, etc., which you clearly couldn't do without these days and still be competitive. So it's a constant evolution in terms of technology. Having used them myself, many of you again will have seen videos where we tested disc brakes and used them ourselves. I was surprised, I have to say. I was very much of the same opinion as a lot of pros are now. I can lock my brakes up ad lib when I want to at the moment. So why on earth would I want more power in terms of my braking ability? And actually I did find out that it's not about the power, it's about the modulation, and that means that I have more of a feeling for where my brakes are at. So actually I'm less likely to lock up. So it's not about the ability to lock up, it's about the ability to get as close to that point of locking up whilst your tyres have just about got enough grip. And that is what allows you to slow down much quicker, in my opinion, than rim brakes. So I can clearly see why the UCI have taken the decision to remove them from the professional peloton. I can also clearly see why certain pro riders, maybe the majority, maybe half, I don't know exactly how many it is, are reluctant to see them appear in the pro peloton for danger reasons. But from a purely sort of sporting point of view, I do really like using them myself.
Yeah. If you put it in the context of cars, no one would ever buy a car with less powerful brakes because you can skid it anyway, would they? Everyone wants more powerful brakes in their cars. So maybe that, is a reasonable analogy for bikes. This is quite a good question from Harvey on Twitter. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in a race?
Oh, that's a good question. Should we give Harvey a T-shirt?
Harvey, you've got a T-shirt.
Because so far we've only given 4 away, and we are halfway through this live broadcast, which means we've still got 16 to go. So actually, quality of questions you have to submit to get a free T-shirt now is going to be lower than it was before. So
Man,
keep submitting.
You are all over the stats, Dan. And that actually answers Spike Knowles' question, who says, how do I win a T-shirt? So there you go, Spike. That's quite fortuitous, isn't it? Right, anyway, back to what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in a race?
Do you know what? The biggest mistake I've probably made in a race is not attacking, I would say. Looking back at my career, I was always quite held back by my own brain, I think I would say. So I was reluctant to lay things on the line and risk losing. And there was a quote from Tom Bonan recently before Paris-Roubaix who said, in order to win this race, you have to risk losing it. And it was a really nice quote, and it did start making me think that actually, did I lay it on the line that much, or could I have really kind of attacked more and risked going out the back and losing all chance of an overall victory in a stage race or a victory on a one-day race? So that's probably the biggest mistake I made.
Yeah, I've got a few that, quite sadly, really, still play over in my mind every now and then when I just think, maybe if I'd just done that, attacked down that side instead of that side, it would all be different. But there is one that really does pain me, and that was in the Under-23 World Mountain Bike Championships in 2004. And I was having the ride of my life, never been fitter, and I think I was riding around about 5th place. And I was so excited to be riding around in 5th place that I forgot to drink and I forgot to eat. And so about 3/4 of the way through the race, I absolutely blew my doors.
No.
And so I slipped from 5th place through 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, out the top 10, out the top 15. just about got to 19th and then managed to claw it back to 16th. So it was a fairly, it was still an all right ride, but it wasn't 5th place. So I'm still, to this day, that is my biggest mistake, and I'm gutted.
I've never heard that story before.
It's surprising because we tell each other the same stories over and over again because we don't have enough. But yeah, no, that one is definitely my biggest mistake. Yeah, well, never mind.
I'm genuinely gutted for Si. What a performance that would have been, a top 10. Top 20 is not bad, I must admit. Right, next T-shirt winner is... I've only got one hand. You do the other one. Fernando on Twitter. I get pains in my knees. Is there anything that I can do? Well, actually, if you do search on the channel, I think we've got a video on what you could possibly try if you've got pain in your knees. But what we always suggest to anybody that answers this question is that first you go to a physio, because pain in your legs is something which you can try and push through if it's just purely a muscular thing and just aching. But if you get any kind of ligament pain, especially in your knees or ankles, etc., I would stop immediately, because you just never know if riding through it is going to do yourself irreparable damage, or at least damage which is going to take months, possibly even more than a year to really come back from. So if you do try and push through it, it could mean that you're going to be off the bike for a significant period of time. So what I would suggest is firstly going to see some kind of physio, preferably one that knows their cycling.
That's really important, isn't it?
But there are a few things that you can do. Saddle height is a pretty big issue, kind of alignment of the feet as well, and the cleats, etc. You can try getting cleats with more float, although some people have found that they've reduced knee problems by having a more fixed cleat. So it's a really individual thing, and not something that we can particularly advise you personally on, Fernando. But hopefully, despite the fact that we haven't really given you a great answer to your question, you'll be happy with a T-shirt.
Yeah, there is that. That is a silver lining to your problem. But anyway, good luck sorting it out. You will get to the bottom of it, I'm absolutely sure. Just do a bit of research, and then, as Dan said, search out that physio who will answer your prayers. Okay, let's go to another one, shall we? Clark Evans, my question is, can I have a free T-shirt? I don't see why not.
Wow, is that what? No, come on. He's got to be the only person that we give a free T-shirt to that says, "Can I have a free T-shirt?"
He did ask the question, though. No one else has.
All right, yeah, okay.
So that was an easy win, that one. If only we'd had some of those in our career, mate. Oh, well, never mind.
Yes.
Okay, Adam Baker. Given that the Tour of Britain comes to Bristol and Bath, are GCN going to do something for fans? Well, I suppose we need to put it in context. Bristol and Bath is our kind of home turf. That's where our studio is based. That's where we kind of go day to day. Well, it'd be nice to do something for the fans, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we haven't, I have to admit, got anything specific planned at the moment. But since the Tour of Britain route was announced by the organisers, Sweet Spot, and we found out that so much of it was based around where we're based, we have had thoughts that we should do something. So if you've got suggestions as to what that something could be, apart from giving away perhaps bikes and T-shirts, etc., we can't really afford to do that. But if you've got a suggestion as to what we could do around the relatively home-based parts of the Tour of Britain this September, then we would love to hear from you. You can get in touch in the usual form. So next to this video, underneath this video, on Facebook, on Twitter, etc., and we'd love to hear your thoughts.
We always say that you can get in touch via any social medium except Snapchat because we're too old. But it turns out that Dan has actually now managed to work out how to use Snapchat. We're not entirely sure whether it's because he's lied about his age or because you got your son to do it for you. But anyway, Dan's now on Snapchat.
I have actually got to break some news to you now, Si. This was just a small joke that Tom Last and I were having with you and Matt yesterday.
Oh. You serious?
Yeah, I'm not actually... Well, I have got a Snapchat account, but I'm not actually using it at all.
You are too old.
Enough of my time is taken up through all of the other various forms of social media that we are allowed on due to our age. Okay, Spike... Have you already read Spike Knowles on YouTube? I've just tuned in, how do you win a T-shirt?
I did, but say it again.
Spike Knowles says, I've just tuned in, how do you win a T-shirt? Well, you have to write in on the comment section of YouTube or the comment section of Facebook, or on Facebook as a message, or on Instagram, or on Twitter with a question, and we will select almost at random what we think are the best questions, and you will receive a T-shirt. I think we've only given away 5, maybe 6 T-shirts so far. We've got at least 14 left to go. Gemma on Twitter, you can have a T-shirt. The question that she sent in is, if I buy a GCN jersey for my husband, can I get you guys to sign it? You kind of can, Although I'm kind of thinking that if we say yes, we might get an abundance of T-shirts through, and rather than producing another amazing GCN video, we might end up spending a good couple of hours signing T-shirts to people that have seen it.
The difficulty
Although that
is
might be slightly arrogant. Maybe we might only get 2 in.
the difficulty is that our T-shirts and our jerseys are sent from a different place other than our office, aren't they? So it's not like we can just quickly nip down, sign them before they go in the envelope, I guess. But yeah, that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Maybe you can come and see us in Bristol and Bath in September, or possibly another event. Anyway, there's some really good questions coming in. I've just noticed actually at the top. Marcus Bjorno, carbon bike or power meter first?
I would say now a carbon bike, because I'm no longer competing, and being fast, apart from our little competition on Cyclist yesterday, is not our state of the art. But in the past, a power meter for sure. I made way more gains by using a power meter when I was 25 and beyond than I did from really any other kind of sort of technological innovation on my bike previous to that.
Yeah, I think if we could try and quantify it, and I know it's probably quite difficult, a good aluminium bike versus a good carbon bike, the carbon bike is going to be what, maybe a kilo lighter? And on a long climb like an Alpe, that might save you, what, sort of 20 seconds, possibly a kilo, maybe even a bit less. Whereas a power meter could help you improve your training, refine your form, and you could end up saving 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
It's worth mentioning that if you purchase something which is more aerodynamic or lighter weight, it will immediately have an effect in terms of it will be faster either on the flat or when you're going up climbs. Putting a power meter on your bike will not have an immediate effect. Just by looking at numbers, you're not going to go faster. But you do have to do some kind of research, and we've got a few videos on the channel which might help you in that regard. And actually, we've got some more coming out soon as well. But you have to know how to use it, and you have to know how to use it for your own personal good. But if you do that research and spend that time doing that research, then it will benefit you enormously. And I can tell you firsthand that that is the case. And I say that because I had already been full-time as a cyclist for many years before I got one. So I'd been, training and racing to the best of my ability before that, but I still made pretty big improvements for at least 3 or 4 consecutive years after that, and I could see that improvement because I had the numbers to show it. Right, moving...
One at the top, that's a bit of a cheekster.
Moving quickly, yeah, I'm going to get onto that one in a minute, but first of all, I'm going to give a T-shirt to Michael Springer, or Springer. Dan, I dare you to slam a beer. Will in the office, who's kind of really doing a few bits and pieces for us as we speak for this live broadcast, has put in brackets, please don't. I won't, because we've probably got a family audience watching. I did just before we came on air, because I was a little bit nervous, actually, Si, broadcasting live.
You did what?
Slam a beer.
Did you?
Were you not listening to the question that I just asked?
Did you ask me a question? No, you were just talking about slamming a beer, were you? You obviously slammed a beer.
I think Si must have slammed a few as well. He's not really listening properly. The one at the top, which we said about, was that Cami Gator on YouTube?
That's right. If you guys sign the T-shirts, are they cheaper?
Yeah, probably. Might even be free.
Do you think he gets a T-shirt for that one?
Yeah, definitely. How many have we done? Has anyone kept count? I've lost count at 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh.
7. That was the 8th T-shirt.
So 12 to give away in 22 minutes. So 1 every 2 minutes, roughly. So you've got a pretty good chance, really, at this point.
You do. Okay, should we move on to another question? Ben Richards, is a professional bike fit worth the money? That's a really tough question, then, actually. I suppose to a certain extent it depends how bad your position is in the first place. It also depends a bit on how good the bike fitter is, because I think, personally, bike fit is as much an art as it is a science. I don't know what you think about that. But they can really make a difference. If you are suffering with any kind of injury, then they might be able to help you get the bottom of it. They may be able to help unlock a little bit more power. They may be able to get you more aerodynamic. So they can definitely be worth the money. What do you think?
I've only ever had one experience of a bike fit, and that was in 2011 when I was with a pro team, and they had some help from Ventoux. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Probably got it wrong, as usual. But the outcome of that was actually that they didn't change my position at all. And what that told me is that if you do spend a lot of time on your bike, by kind of trial and error, but also by some education as well, and some help from other people who can look at you, you can get into a really, really good position. However, lots and lots of people are just getting into cycling. And I do have to say that we've seen a number of people here in Mallorca with absolutely terrible positions. So for them, it probably would be worth going to get a professional bike fit, because immediately they would probably be put into a position which would allow them to get much more power through the pedals, feel more comfortable, feel more confident on descents, etc. But if you've been cycling for a long time, I'm not saying that you're always going to be in the perfect position, but you will probably have found something that is pretty close to what's best for you.
Yeah, I think anyone that's promising you like a miracle out of a bike fit, I'd be a bit wary about that. And anyone who can promise you definitively that they will get more power out no matter what, I also would take that with a pinch of salt as well, perhaps.
Sorry, just smirking because I read the next question that we are going to answer.
Who is?
Somebody that's going to get a T-shirt. Miguel on Twitter. Where are Matt and Lasty tonight? Are they in the warehouse shipping T-shirts? Yes, Matt and Lasty, could you ship Miguel out a T-shirt? He's going to send us his address on Facebook shortly. So, yeah, thanks, Lasty and Matt. Miguel, they will be sending you out a T-shirt in the post as soon as they possibly can.
They aren't actually in the warehouse. Matt and Lasty flew home this morning because they had to get back for something, and so they've left Dan and me just to finish up the last couple of days filming. So the fact that it rained this morning and we had a leisurely start was just unfortunate, wasn't it? Really, I suppose. If we didn't have a leisurely start, we were at crack of dawn.
Well, I was looking forward to a leisurely start until Lasty, who I was rooming with, left and made the most noise of anyone I've ever come across at 6:30 in the morning. I failed to get back to sleep again, but that's something between me and Lasty when we get back.
There is actually a question about that, isn't there? Let me try and find it. Charlie Cox on Instagram. Who is the worst GCN presenter to share a room with?
Is Charlie getting a T-shirt?
Charlie, you've got a T-shirt!
Well done, Charlie. So easy, isn't it?
And the best thing about that, because Charlie didn't know that a T-shirt was on offer, because this is a pre-submitted question. So that is a real bonus for Charlie.
That is really deserved then. Okay.
Hope he's watching, or her.
The worst member of GCN to share a room with. Now, if you've been watching this broadcast from the very beginning, you will have heard the name Mike Rees. He's the producer. He's
the one with the massive calves.
Without Mike, we would not look... I mean, we probably don't look great anyway. But without Mike, we would look blooming terrible, wouldn't we? But he talks in his sleep. And it doesn't always make sense. I actually, I don't know if I've ever roomed with Mike. I just keep hearing stories from other people that have roomed with him, and it sounds quite noisy. He's got an alarm that goes off in the morning, which is apparently at maximum volume, and you can't possibly get to sleep after it goes off. And he generally works until about 2, 3 in the morning and gets up around 6, so it probably is quite frustrating. So I would say Mike.
There is one other risk actually about, not necessarily rooming with a GCN presenter, but if you don't room with one specific GCN presenter and you happen to have the hairdryer in your room, then no matter what time of day, he will barge into your room unannounced and use said hairdryer. I don't know whether you can guess which one that might be, but yes, we might know.
Lasty. Unbelievable. Colin Bell on Facebook. Dan, has Cav had his day? This is a question that people have been asking for, well, pretty much since Cav was successful, haven't they? As soon as he started winning races and being really dominant in sprints, everyone, the public, journalists alike, have been looking for signs that he's not as fast as he was, not as good as he was, not as motivated as he was, and not winning as much as he was. The fact is, he's been a pretty consistent winner pretty much every year, even when he's had a little stint where he's not been winning races for a couple of months, let's say, and might be getting beaten by other riders. He's always come out the other end with double-digit wins, which I think we were signed on the dotted line for our entire career when we started as a professional rider. So he's still an absolutely amazing rider. It's always one of those really difficult things, isn't it, where you always pine after all the greats being on the best form at the same time. And it almost never seems to happen, and that's because there are so many variables in cycling. You can have illnesses, injuries, etc., etc. So like we would want to see Quintana, Froome and Contador and all the other GC favourites of Tour be on fantastic form at the same time this July, so that we can see the best sporting pinnacle we've ever seen. It probably won't happen, and that's just the nature of the sport. And added to sprinting is the fact that not only will people be on slightly different form, but there's also no way that 6 people can be at 200 metres to go in the position to win. That's the nature of sprinting. But to really answer the question, I don't think Cav's quite at the position that he was when he was winning, for example, 6 stages of the Tour de France in 1 year. And if it came to sprint finish, you felt he was going to be the guy that won. And I think he's freely admitted that. He lost the Ciel de Praise to Marcel Kittel just a few weeks ago, and he wasn't that disappointed. I'm sure internally he was disappointed, but to the journalists, etc., he said, well, I've lost to Marcel Kittel. You can't say that was a bad ride. I didn't lose by that many wheel lengths. I think it was only a half a wheel length, wasn't it? So he's still got it. He won a stage in Croatia just yesterday. Whether or not he can continue to win 4 stages or more at the Tour de France, I think is debatable.
Yeah, we were having a conversation similar to this earlier today, and I've just been trying to rack my brains about who we were talking about. It started by saying basically about how difficult it is when you have a lot of success early in your career, and then you're constantly measured by that success for the rest of it. So unless you maintain an incredible win rate, people are always going to ask those questions. Can you remember who we were talking about?
Gilbert, I think, was just earlier on today. So we were saying Gilbert doesn't seem to be the rider that he was. But last year, less than 12 months ago, he won 2 stages of the Giro d'Italia, which, again, is something that you and I would have definitely signed on a dotted line for throughout our entire careers, let alone in 1 year. The fact is that he had 1 year where he was so dominant, he pretty much won every uphill finish that was less than something like 5 kilometres in length. Loads of monuments at the start of the year. I think he did the triple, didn't he, of Amstel, Flèche and Liège. Countless other races at the Tour de France, etc. after that. And you are then judged on that year, and anything you do after that is compared to it. So since then, he's won a World Championships, he's won Amstel Gold another couple of times, and loads of other races, including the 2 Giro stages that I talked about. So, still an amazing rider, just not quite living up to that one amazing year that he had.
Yeah. But you would always say, take the amazing year and then spend the rest of your career fielding questions about, whether you're as good as you were, wouldn't you? And obviously we definitely would, but he probably would too, right? Okay, let's have another question. Can we say hi to the Oxford University Cycling Club from Maria Montaigne? Hello, Oxford University Cycling Club. That was quite an easy one to answer, wasn't it? And then
Shelley didn't say, "Can I have a free T-shirt?" Otherwise, we would have been able to give them a free T-shirt.
One between the entire cycling club. I don't know. That's tough. But how about? Oh, this is an interesting question from Mike Labarge on Facebook. Is it true that a GCN T-shirt will improve my power output? I'd like to check. There is a web shop, isn't there?
Well, no is the answer to his question. Probably, they're not as tight-fitting as the proper cycling jerseys, which you can go to shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com and buy. But regardless, no, a T-shirt will generally make you slightly slower because it's all baggy and not as aerodynamic.
Yeah. Right, this is a tough question. Thomas Booth, what's the worst crash you've ever had on GCN Business? And I'm going to this table is wood, touch wood right now, because I'm not entirely sure I've had a proper crash on a road bike for GCN yet. I don't think.
I don't think I have either. I think we generally leave that to Matt, don't we? I did 2 years ago at this time we were here. And when I'm slightly bored on shoots, I like to sort of practice my wheelies. And I had a bike where the brakes were the other way around. Similar to when Matt crashed. And so when I went to put the back brake on to stop myself tipping backwards whilst I was wheeling, it was the front brake, so I tipped backwards and landed on my bum.
Never heard that before. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is it on camera?
No, luckily. Luckily, otherwise everyone would have seen it for sure by now. Next winner of a T-shirt is Jonas Piedra on Facebook. How long does it take to make a GCN video? Or this specific one, an hour. A lot of them take quite a long time. It's very varied, actually. So some we can rattle off reasonably quickly, and we're talking very much us personally in terms of presenting them. And others take a lot of research, and then they take quite a long time to film. Generally, the ones Matt is involved in take slightly longer because he flushes his lines up more than we do.
Well, and clipping in as well. We lose quite a lot of time for clipping in.
Look at that service from lovely Stefan. But we can really only talk from our own personal perspective. So whilst we generally write and present each video, that's half or probably less than half of the job. So as I mentioned earlier, the polishing of the, I was going to say something beginning with T then, but making us look slightly better than we normally are probably takes more time than it does to research, write and to present the script. So it does take quite a lot of manpower and woman power to get these videos out to you, but everyone loves doing it, I can assure you of that.
We do indeed. This is an interesting one. So from Carl Harrow, I can't believe nobody has photo bombed you yet. Well, it turns out, Carl, that we're filming in quite a nice hotel. We're not staying here. Unfortunately, the GCN budget doesn't stretch to that.
No, that's true. Not even joking.
No, we've just come here because the Wi-Fi is good, and so there's quite a high calibre of guest here, which is why no one has jumped in the back of shot yet. A few people have walked past wondering what on earth we're doing, but anyway, there's not much room to photo bomb. It's just a nice bit of art just behind Dan.
Okay, next T-shirt winner is Scott Sanders, who says, I'm in the States, can I have a free T-shirt? Yes, you can, Scott, but you're the last person who just says, can I have a free T-shirt that's going to actually get one. Sal Mendoza says, I'm riding 200 miles a week. Do I need a rest day? Quite a difficult question to answer because we aren't aware of how that 200 miles is split. The answer is yes, you do need to factor in rest days. So generally we'd recommend 4 days of training, maybe 5, with 2 to 3 rest days to allow you to recover from that, make the adaptations that will then lead you on to being hopefully a better rider. So trying to do something every day will eventually lead probably to overtraining.
Interesting that you say that, Dan. There's some first-hand experience at the moment, isn't there? How is your shoulder?
Oh yeah. Yeah, not great. I embarked on the 1st of January with a New Year's resolution, which was to do on the 1st of January 1 press-up and 1 sit-up, with the idea being that I increased it by 1 per day, so that on the 100th day of the year, I would do 100 press-ups and 100 sit-ups. But I got past 100, and I will stress I didn't do them all in one go. I had to do them in batches of 20. I'm being encouraged behind the camera by this Mike Reese again to do them in a minute, which I'm reluctant to do. But on day 106, I got a bit of a sort of shoulder collarbone injury, and I haven't done them since.
So, suffice to say, if Dan had taken a rest day or two, you probably would have been doing 200 press-ups and sit-ups a day and have guns like Andre Greipel, but as it is, you've got a bit of a shoulder injury. So rest days are definitely really, really important, as are rest weeks, actually, aren't they, from time to time? So the ideal training plan would have you building and building and building, and then either just after your goal or the peak fitness, then you take a bit of a rest week or maybe a rest fortnight, not stopping completely, and then you can build up again after that and hopefully reach an even higher peak. So rest is probably the most important part of training, I guess.
Yeah, overtraining is something that every single cyclist really gets to at some point, and that is because when you first start cycling as a sport, generally the more you do, the better you get, because you come from doing nothing to cycling, a few days a week, maybe every day of the week once you've got more time on your hands, and you will generally find that because you're riding your bike more, you'll be better on the bike. But there always comes a time when that stops, when doing more doesn't make you any better, and that is the point at which you need more rest. So if anyone's at that particular point at the moment where they've always been doing more and always been getting better, now they're still doing just as much as they've ever done, but they're not making any improvements, they're starting to feel slightly fatigued. Don't fall into the mistake that most motivated cyclists make of thinking, right, well, I just need to do even more than I'm doing now to make more improvements, because that generally is not the case.
Yeah. Now, Dan, it has occurred to me that it is getting on for 10 o'clock here, local time, and we still have quite a lot of T-shirts to give away. So should we do a snap T-shirt giveaway? 5, bang, quick fires. What do you reckon?
Okay. Are you going to do that?
We both can. Right. Lewis John, what's the toughest ride you've ever done? You've just got yourself a T-shirt. And the toughest ride I've ever done, oh, crikey. I think the longest ride was a stage of the Tour of Ireland once, which was 244 kilometres. At that point, it was about 80 kilometres longer than I'd ever ridden before. But I did get round.
Okay, next winner of a T-shirt. So I'm keeping my eyes on my computer more than the camera. Gilliam Chipchase. Apologies if I got your first name wrong. Would GCN ever do a podcast or a TV show? Brackets never say never. Well, firstly, thank you for the question. You've got a T-shirt on the way tomorrow. We haven't got really plans to do anything along those lines at the moment, but as you said, never say never. If the opportunity came along, then why not? Likelihood is TV and podcasts probably wouldn't want us doing anything, but as you said, you never know your luck.
It's true, we have been quite fortunate, haven't we? How about Chris Babb? Will the new GCN T-shirt you're sending me make me look fat? No, it won't, but you will be getting a GCN T-shirt. Congratulations.
Oh, he said we weren't going to... Well, kind of, yeah, all right.
No, he hasn't asked for one. He's just assumed. It was clever.
Ben Miller, T-shirt winner, Mendips or Mallorca? Mallorca is the answer to that question, but I think, as ever, it always rides on where you're based. So the grass is always greener, as they say. I do absolutely love cycling in the UK, and I think if I was based in Mallorca, however beautiful it is, I would get over to the UK on a nice day for a couple of weeks, or a week as we're doing here, as a stint in Mallorca, and be reminded just how beautiful it is back there to ride a bike.
It only takes me 45 minutes to cycle to the Mendips. That's like my local range of hills. And so to a certain extent, that is slightly more preferable to jumping on a plane every time I want to go for a bike ride. So there's a pretty big place in my heart for local rides, and the Mendips is part of that for me.
Next T-shirt goes to Dennis Estevez. Does GCN have a beer domestique? The answer is yes. His name is Stefan Dark. No K in there, Q-U-E at the end. And
it's French.
Brought me a Corona. So yeah, we have got one, and I'm very grateful I am too.
To be fair, beer domestique is possibly, only one of his many talents. He also makes many of the amazing GCN videos that you know and love. So he is a talented lad. Incredibly talented when you see what he has to work with, to be fair.
We love Stefan, don't we? Because we like to think we're funny. And what happens is, with the majority of the crew that we work with, they basically don't laugh because we're not. But with Stefan, whatever we say, he kind of bursts out laughing, which makes us feel like we actually are quite funny. So
he's laughing now, and sometimes he even laughs so hard the camera shakes and we have to go again. It's brilliant. There's never been a greater motivating tool than a laugh, has there really? Which is why Matt is also very good to work with. Right, okay, let's have another one. Who came up with the idea for GCN? Beth Carroll. Did she get a T-shirt for that?
Yeah, well done, Beth. You get a T-shirt. Right, the idea for GCN, to the best of my knowledge, came from two people. The first of whom we had lunch with today and dinner with last night, and that is a guy called Andrew Croker, who's probably the most connected man I've ever met in my life. The people that man doesn't know are not worth knowing. And also our proper boss, not like my nickname, the boss, but the actual boss is called Simon Ware. So those two are very good friends, and they had the idea for setting up a cycling channel on YouTube, and they got some help from YouTube themselves. Andrew, of course, knew someone fairly high up in the company. So we were all in this massive privileged position of being able to try and start creating content for a YouTube channel, which in many people's eyes will have changed in terms of how they perceive YouTube in the 3.5 years since then. But at the time, it was a very, very new concept. None of us, I think, really knew what we were doing from the start. Not to say that we really, really do now, but it's been very much a learning process since then in terms of what works, what doesn't, what people want to see, what people don't want to see. But the original idea came from Andrew Croker and Simon Ware.
Right, so we have 4 T-shirts left and only a few minutes left on air. So send us in your best messages, some good banter, and you could well get a T-shirt. If you have won a T-shirt already, then do send us a message on Facebook as well, because then we can get hold of you, and Matt and Lasty can send you the T-shirt in the post. It won't be them, but you know what I mean. Right, okay. Kay Edwards has asked, do you have a team editing your YouTube videos? Yeah, we do. We have a very cool team that we get to work with, and each member of the team generally will film and edit as well. There are a few of them, and they're all very cool, and we do rely on them quite a lot, don't we?
Yeah. Without them, I don't even know how to start that. Actually, I've started it. I don't know how to finish it. Without them, yeah.
This gives you some indication actually of how much editing.
Yeah.
Goes into a GCN video.
Without them, this kind of rambling would remain in every video, as opposed to just the live one. So
without them,
count yourself lucky, really, that they're here.
Without them, this hour-long Facebook and YouTube live chat would probably be 5 minutes of YouTube gold. So anyway, there we go. Right then.
No, we've been told one more question by Mike Rees, who's he
Thundercalves.
likes to sometimes put his foot down, or assert his authority, should I say? Putting his foot down with those calves does, you can feel it. He said one more question, but I think we've got more than one T-shirt to give away, haven't we?
I think we've got 3 T-shirts.
Is it 3? Right, so we need to... Okay, John Scott gets one. What's your favourite cheese?
Oh, my word, that's such a difficult question. Halloumi.
Well done. I don't know. Cheddar.
What? Incidentally, cheddar is in the Mendips that we were talking about earlier on. So if you are not from the UK, then that gives you a bit of geography. So cheddar cheese comes from the Mendips.
Next T-shirt, penultimate T-shirt of the day, comes from Julian Day, who says and asks, has Lasty got Snapchat? Yes, he has. I don't think he wants many people to know that he's got Snapchat, but it's out there now. I don't know what it is because I'm not really on it myself, but do a search for Tom Last. Maybe you will find him. One T-shirt left to give away. We should make it a real good one, shouldn't we?
How about that one? What do you think? That's quite a good question.
Yeah.
Vlad Manhattan on Instagram pre-submitted again, so he didn't even know he was in the running for a free T-shirt. He said, "Thanks, guys, for your great work." Well, thank you very much. It's mainly down to the team behind the cameras, as we've already established. I feel like we're good old friends. And you know what? That is really cool because every person that we've met out on the road here in Mallorca and any time since GCN started, we always have a really nice, it does feel like we know people. It's cool. There's a sense of, camaraderie because we all really like bikes. And so there is a sense of that, isn't there, out on the road?
Yeah, essentially, we are all friends because we've all got something in common because we all like, as you said, Si, to ride our bikes, especially in beautiful places like we are at here in Mallorca at the moment. So, very nice question, Vlad. Well, not even a question, is it? Statement. But you get a T-shirt for that, Vlad. And it will be on its way to the post to you as soon as you give us your address, preferably as a message on Facebook if you are on that medium as well. I didn't see where the question came in.
Instagram.
Right, it is now 1 minute past 10 local time here, which means that you've got an extra minute for free, although essentially you've had 61 minutes for free anyway. But we would like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's made the effort to join us, even if it was only for a couple of minutes, and to anyone that's actually watched this video subsequently, that not live. It will be available for you to see for quite some time. Thank you very much. We will be with you again with another live GCN broadcast in the not too distant future, I think.
We will, and we should probably say a big thank you as well to Stefan and Mike Rees, who have been behind this broadcast, and also Will and James behind the scenes back at home too. And if you do see us out in Mallorca tomorrow, do make sure you say hello.